Welcome to the Warrior One podcast. I'm your co-host, Ben Wiggins. I host the Mays Mastercast for Texas A&M University's Mays Business School, and I'm here with the host of your show, your superintendent at Tuloso-Midway ISD, Dr. Rick Fernandez. Rick, how are you today?
I'm doing great. I am very excited, particularly about our partnership with Aramark, and I get to participate in a little demonstration day. I'll just leave it at that.
Yes, I can't wait for our viewers and our listeners to see it. If you're only listening to this on audio, you ought to check out the YouTube clips for this one. Follow the Warrior One podcast on YouTube, and you're in for a treat today. Our guests today, we have three guests, a block of two, and then Tasha Jones is our third guest. But our first two guests are Alisha Jordan and Robert Johnson from Aramark with Tuloso-Midway's partnership with Aramark. Alisha is a director of strategic development for Aramark covering the South region. She works every day to ensure students are provided the best school food service experience possible. She is passionate about driving school district strategies and priorities while providing delicious and nutritious meals creatively. She's been working in the K-12 food service industry for over 14 years and various aspects of food service for the majority of her life. She was a culinary team member at Walt Disney World Resort and a waitress for her father's restaurant when she was younger. Looking forward to talking with Alisha. Robert is Aramark's Director of Concessions and Regional Chef K-12 for South Texas. He's been with Aramark since 2013 and has been in his current role since 2016. He's been in the hospitality industry since 2004. His career has taken him to Vail, Colorado, Montauk, the Hamptons region, New York, and Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. During his time at Aramark, he was the recipient of the first Ring of Stars Award. This was given to the top 250 employees in all lines of Aramark business. He has also been featured on their Fuel K-12 videos and has been a representative in their Culinary Center of Excellence. Robert was a Dean's List graduate from Texas A&M Kingsville with a Bachelor of Science in Health and Kinesiology. He also graduated from Texas Culinary Academy with an AOS in Culinary Arts. Looking forward to hearing from them, and I'm looking forward to seeing you doing some cooking, Rick.
Yes, I fancy myself a bit of a chef, so my wife is probably rolling her eyes right about now. But please, you need to join us for this demo. It's going to be entertaining.
Yes, and a great conversation beforehand. Let's get into it.
Awesome.
We welcome Alisha Jordan and Robert Johnson to the show. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for the invite.
Yeah. It is a pleasure to have you here.
I'm excited. We're got some great things happening with our food services, so this is a great opportunity to have our guest today and talk a little bit about what's going on in TM.
Let's do it.
What did your parents do for careers and how has that impacted you? And Alisha, we'll start with you.
My dad owned a restaurant called the Mint Tulip in Jefferson, Texas. And I guess I kind of started my food service career at an earlier age than most. I think I started working in the restaurant about 9 or 10 years old, off the books, of course. My dad saved the restaurant name in the hopes that someday I would open the restaurant again. Not really sure that might ever happen, but, who knows? It just might. And my mom was captain of the sheriff's department in Ector County. So with that comes a lot of, perceived discipline, although my mom was not very strict. I just happened to be in the food service industry. I majored in restaurant hotel management at Texas Tech University and, came over to hotels as a food and beverage director for a hot minute, about 2.5 years, where I worked nonstop, 365 days a year, and was really looking for a quality of life change. And that's where I found my niche with K-12 and Aramark. It's very rare, and I know Chef Robert can testify to this too, where you can still be in food services. And pretty much for the most part, it's Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, at least for me, maybe not so much for you, but it's very rare. So to be able to do that and really have a huge impact on student lives, I've been able to find my home for the last 15 years.
So is it safe to say that one parent was helping enforce the law while the other was breaking the child labor laws for the state?
Yeah, that actually sounds about right.
Chef, how about you? What did your parents do?
My mother worked for the Texas Department of Human Services. She worked in management there. She took care of the people that were basically, I don't know the right term, but was applying for food stamps. So she would do all the interviews and the investigations and things of that nature. And she retired from there. And then she went to work for the county health there in Jim Wells County. And she ran the health department there, retired. And my father retired from Frito-Lay. So he was with Frito-Lay for probably about 30 years.
It's interesting that there's the food connection with both sets of families there. Not exactly what you're doing, but still that connection with food or service.
Right.
And your first job, was it related somehow to?
Probably cutting grass.
Okay.
Cutting grass, making some money in high school.
Very nice. And of course, over the appropriate age for work.
Of course. Of
Just
course.
wanted to clarify that for you.
Of course.
And then bring us up to Aramark. What brought you to this opportunity?
Well, my career started, I went to school at A&M Kingsville. I graduated there with a degree in health and kinesiology. And I went to culinary school. I went to Austin, Texas Culinary Academy. Then I went and then did my internship in Vail, Colorado. So from Vail, as my internship finished, the chef was talking with me, and he was getting in my head, what should I do, and yada, yada, yada. He goes, Robert, you should go to the East Coast. I had a great boss that I worked with, got to meet a lot of good people. My boss took a new job in Pennsylvania and took me and another guy with us. So we went to Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, worked at Saucon Valley Country Club. It's a premier country club in the U.S., and it was home to Bethlehem Steel, basically, which basically built everything in New York. Let me see. After 2009, I knew it was time for me to come back to Texas. And like she was saying, quality of life. I was in food and beverage. I worked 6 days a week, minimum 70 to 80 hours, long days and nights. Came back. I started working for a company, a nonprofit there in Alice called Community Action. I oversaw the Meals on Wheels program and also the Head Start program for all of the food service there. Lo and behold, Aramark came in. We were trying to get some assistance to oversee the program. Didn't work out, but Aramark recruited me to come on board with K through 12. And K through 12 was one of the last things I ever thought that I would work in. And you know what? It's been so fulfilling for me.
As our listeners are aware, TMISD really values individuality for their students in the classroom as well as in the cafeteria. How does Aramark help to facilitate individuality for students in the cafeteria?
I would say that one of the things that we've really tried to do and really pride ourselves on is having menus that are built that students have complete ownership of, and not just students, but teachers and staff as well, where they can build their own meal. A lot of made-to-order concepts we like to feature in our cafeteria so that the students can come through and not one plate or tray is going to look the same as anyone else's. It's a lot of offer versus serve so that students have full choice and ownership in their meals. We also do a lot of spice stations where we have, a variety of spices available, and students can then add their level or combination or their special spice mix to whatever the dish is. So it could be their entree, it could be French fries, it could be broccoli, or it could be really anything that they want to season.
The customizable food options, just in education, everything is evolving so quickly. And the piece about the individual need of the student, I think that goes not only with our instruction, but also with food, right? What does that student enjoy? What do they like? And how do we expose them to some things that are maybe different than what they've normally had? What is so important in y'all's perspective about the ability for a student to make some decisions about their food?
We want to make sure that the kids understand that the options are customizable for them. A prime example, within the last month, we have the made-to-order pasta line bar here at TM at the high school. They have choice of 2 different pastas, 2 different sauces, 3 different proteins, and then an assortment of vegetables. We have a pasta bake that's pretty much every day, something that they don't have to wait in line for, that they can just come in, pasta carbonara or spaghetti and meat sauce, bolognese, whatever it may be. Or if you want to come in line and you know what, I just want a penne with Alfredo and peas. You can do that. It's on the line. Whatever's on the line, we can do it. There's so many different options, but they can take ownership of it and you get what you want.
If we want to celebrate the flavor profiles that students have had at home and have experienced growing up at home, we want to bring that familiarity into our menu development. But also we want to expose them to new flavor profiles and introduce them to something that they may not have had at home, right? So that they can then figure out exactly what they like and what they don't like. As long as we continually introduce these new flavors and textures to students, I think that we're providing them an added layer of educational opportunity outside of the classroom.
Yeah, the cafeteria is an extension of the classroom. You're going to learn about nutrition because everything that's there for them. And there's options for them. They're going to have things that like she was saying, that they've never tried before.
Absolutely. And I think from my perspective, I want every aspect of school, from the time that they join us in pre-K to the time that they leave us in 12th grade, to be an experience, right? Not just the instructional, although that's the most important component, but all of it, right? Lunch service, type of food that they're exposed to, how they get to select that, and how can we leverage their ideas and their thoughts to shape how we serve.
Mm-hmm.
Because you mentioned Chick-fil-A and your experience there, and that's a reoccurring theme that we've been talking with our principals and some of our leadership team about. Whether you like the chicken or not, you know what you're going to get from the service. It's going to be quality service, quality product. You're going to leave there feeling good about what you have. And that's what we want to create here, replicate that type of service atmosphere and for our students and our families.
In terms of crafting the experience that we're talking about, how, for a layperson, how do Aramark and TMISD work together to create this cafeteria experience, this culinary experience that you have today? What was unique about this project for each of you?
So quickly, let me give you a little bit of the backstory. So when in my previous district in Tomball, we were able to visit the Apple campus in Cupertino, California.
Okay.
For educational purposes, and we're looking to see how they deliver instruction and technology and all those components.
Sure.
Me being myself with a little bit of touch of ADD here and there, I get up and kind of walk around their campus and notice that they had these lockers, if you will, for food. Right.
Okay.
And it's kind of what you imagine or what you may see in other countries. So they had all these lockers, both hot, cold. And I was very curious to know how much, number one, how much did they cost? And what was the quality that the employees were receiving with just pulling something out of kind of a mini vending machine, if you will.
Right.
And so I took several, I'm sure I was supposed to pay for them. I don't know if I probably
took someone else's lunch.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure Apple's good with my iTunes contribution on a monthly basis. So
Title of the show: TMISD Superintendent Takes Apple Employees Lunch Money.
Sorry, Dr. Z, if you're listening to this, but they were just staring at me, and I asked the guy next to me. Maybe he assumed I ordered. I don't know.
Right.
But surely I didn't order all three of the lockers. I pulled stuff out. Anyway, the food was exceptional, and you could see that their staff and their employees were very much enjoying the ability to come, grab something on demand, go back and have a conversation with their colleagues all over the building. And so I was like, why is that not possible in K-12? That seems like something our teachers, our students would enjoy. And so Alisha kind of discussed some of those components.
Yeah.
That's the story of how I probably owe Apple some money and stole somebody's lunch.
I'm glad we're here.
So by Dr. Fernandez stealing someone's lunch, we were able to figure out and understand, okay, if we were to take that same concept, scale it appropriately for a district and captured audience, if you will, let's try to figure out how we can integrate it with our technology that we already have.
Mm-hmm.
And our back of the house systems, and create a menu that's unique for Tuloso-Midway. And I think that we've come up with a great solution. We're going to start with about 16 cabinets, food cabinets.
We're trying to come up with something other than locker.
Box.
So my basketball background is when I think of locker, I'm thinking of my shoes, my high top, my socks. So I don't know.
Right.
Bunker, locker.
And you have to remember a combination.
Yes. And I wasn't good at that either in middle school. So there's a lot of bad memory with that.
We've come up with a solution and would really like to beta test it with the teachers at Tuloso-Midway High School. This is brand new to K-12, never been done before anywhere in K-12. And actually, even our higher ed business partners don't have it either. We've been really trying to identify partnerships where it's already been successful so that we can learn from their learning curve and duplicate it and scale it and make it work for Tuloso-Midway. So really excited about the project. Teachers would be able to order their lunch or their food on an app, and we'll have both hot, cold, and ambient holding ability. So, talking through logistics or behind the scenes operations, we could have a menu that features all sorts of items within those three categories, which is basically the entire menu spectrum, and have some items that are available now on the spot, ready to go, and then also some that you might have a little more complex preparation to, and maybe there's an hour or 2 hour time frames where I order at 9 and I say I want it by 11, then it'll be there in your locker. You go up to the locker with your QR code after you've paid by credit card or your lunch account, and the locker automatically pops open with your QR code, and you have your lunch and go on about your day.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Very excited about that. Everybody has to pay for it and not just take other people's lunches like I did. So wanted to make that clear.
Right. Let's shift gears. Robert, I want to throw this one to you first. How has COVID affected students' cafeteria experience at school?
Packaging. Everything's being packaged for the most part in the elementary areas and the high school. It's not really we don't have as many things available as what we did before. In some districts, participation isn't really there because they're not in school. You're seeing 60% of attendance there in schools, and the remaining are virtual.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not where we used to be, but we're going to get there soon.
We're trying to do different creative things to encourage students because we know the need is still there.
Yes.
We know that students still need food. They just may be at home instead of in person at school. So, and a lot of times they don't have the ability to come to school to pick up those meals. So we're trying to find creative ways to still meet those needs. And I know you did a lot of great things.
Right. And we're doing a lot of that. Last week, we did have curbside pickup here in TM. There was meals available for them, breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Mm-hmm.
We also had weekend meals. We had a great program to where on Friday, we gave them a whole pizza, and then they had a Redbox coupon to watch a movie for the weekend. So that was pretty cool. And to see 480 pizzas leave within a 4 to 5 hour period was pretty impressive.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We have other districts to where we have routes that are out in rural areas, and we deliver meals to them because the kids aren't coming to school, but they're doing virtual. So every district is unique, and Aramark tries to fill the needs as the best way that we can.
The way that we've been able to serve students during COVID, particularly with really bringing food to the doorstep, if that's what is needed. Not only our staff, but our teachers, our transportation, it's been a total team effort. And anytime that we've reached out to Aramark and said, this is kind of a barrier that we're facing, how do we work around this? They've made it happen for us. The pizza and movie night, I got so many comments from other districts about that. And what a great idea. Not even thinking about, anything with COVID or we're off for intercession, but just what a great idea.
Normally.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's those type of things that we're looking for the experience, because people will remember that. Like, that's an extra mile. That's an extra step that you typically might not get at your local district. So we want to continue and expound upon that.
And I do want to give a special shout out to the team at Tuloso-Midway and the partnership that we have here. Last summer, whenever we were in the throes, if you will, of COVID and doing disaster feeding, Tuloso-Midway was the first school district to also do door-to-door delivery, leveraging their transportation department as well. And that was celebrated all throughout Aramark. And we really highlighted all the hard work that goes into that, because this is so out of our normal scope. The team here has just been phenomenal, just working to make sure that all those needs are met.
We're going to move to a live table in a moment, and Robert and Dr. Fernandez are going to do a little cooking for our audience. But before we go there, if another district saw your culinary experience and wanted to implement something similar, what would their first steps be?
Reach out to us. I mean, we're always willing to help and support and walk through any concerns or what the ideas are and how to make it happen. You don't have to contract with Aramark, but I think that if you choose to go down that route or contracting with a food service management company, definitely do your research. people are a key aspect of what we do, and having the knowledge and the resources. I think that's what separates a food service management company or a managed food service department separate from a self-operated school district, is we have such a wealth of resources, and we're able to leverage our other business partners like Nike, like Auburn University and Baylor University, and reach out to them for insights and knowledge so that we can then, bring them to our K-12. So I would say just reach out to Robert or myself or really anyone on the Aramark team. And, we're definitely here to help.
I've got to ask one last question because this is critically important. I love school lunch. What was the worst packed lunch you ever received from your family? And I'll go first so you can think about it real quickly. One time, 2 butt ends of the bread, I know that's the technical term, mayonnaise and Vienna sausages on a sandwich.
Ooh.
It was, sorry, Mom, it was brutal, but that is by far the worst lunch anyone has ever packed for me.
That's pretty bad.
It was bad.
Oh, it was packed for you. Okay. I thought it was provided for you at the school.
Mom,
because that threw me off.
Mom, hey, Mom's doing the best she could, but I guess she was thinking hot dogs and, that makes sense. No. That was no bueno.
Ooh.
Ben, anything?
Well, so mine is also in the mayonnaise, in the mayonnaise family. My mom sent a bologna sandwich with me to school one day, and the mayonnaise, I don't know how this happened, but the mayonnaise had turned.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking in my mind. Like, why are parents sending mayonnaise to school?
Right.
There's no refrigeration.
Well, I'm sure the Vienna sausage juice killed whatever was going to hurt the mayonnaise. Alisha, anything?
I was a creative eater. So I got the kids, I was in 6th grade, and I got the kids in my table to start eating Fritos with their Jell-O cups. To this day, my best friend will not eat Jell-O ever again because of that trend that was started. And then right now, my favorite sandwich, and again, I'm 38 years old, is peanut butter, turkey, and cheddar cheese. That is my absolute favorite sandwich.
Wow.
I guess it's all going to the same place.
Again.
No, it's not going the same. Like, that's awful.
Again, very creative eater. I was going to say, I do have one more funny story.
I got a funny story too that I thought about. A sad but funny story.
Okay, so it's my first role as a food service director, and I'm, very first day on site, and I get this Ziploc bag brought to me with what looks to be a bone in it, and apparently I got a call later on from a mom that was very upset that her kid had bit into a fried burrito and hit something hard. This was the hard object that was in it. And she wanted it to be sent off for testing. And so I immediately notified the manufacturer, my boss, and all the things, and forgot about it, right? Sent it off for testing. It came back. It was a human bone fragment.
Whoa.
We no longer serve those burritos anymore. They sent the fragment back to me. So what do I do with this?
Did you make a necklace with it?
No, I didn't. It sat underneath I know it should have. It sat underneath my keyboard for like a whole year until I finally let it go. But yeah, a human bone fragment. So like, I guess in the manufacturing process, something might have gone wrong. Yeah, first day.
The Warrior One podcast, ladies and gentlemen.
First day, yeah.
So my funny one that I just remembered about was we had breakfast in the classroom, and I was doing my rounds, and I was saying good morning to the kids, and we had bagels that morning. So a little girl came up to me, and she was real serious and said, "Sir, my donut's stale." She had never had a bagel before, and it was a sad situation because obviously she had never had it before, and we're introducing something new to them, and it was a learning experience on both ends. It was a laughing experience, but it was like, oh, this poor little thing, she thinks it's a donut, but it was actually a bagel.
Right. Well,
I can sympathize.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be really disappointed too.
All right, let's go to the table.
Are you ready?
Yeah, let's do it. Chef Robert, what are we cooking today?
Today we're doing street tacos. We've got carnitas, smoked pork, and then we also made a grilled corn and avocado salad. Well, first things first, I went ahead and already did the pork. I smoked the pork for about 8 hours at 225 degrees. It was an 8-pound pork butt. I went ahead, I smoked it. I let it rest for about an hour, and then I pulled it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start warming up the pork while I guide you along to help me with the salad.
Okay, so I'm making the salad, the easy part.
You're doing the easy part.
Okay.
Everything's pretty much done for you. The only thing we gotta do is put it together. You're not cooking anything, you're just assembling.
Fair enough. All right, so you tell me what you need me to get started on.
First things first, you gotta use gloves.
That would be helpful. This is just like the Beat Bobby Flay, so I'm very excited about this challenge. When you say salad, what's in that salad?
In the salad, we're gonna have grilled corn, preferably in season. Right now it's not. We have 3 different types of cherry tomatoes for sweetness. We have some lime, some onion, some cilantro, and ripe avocado.
Where's the lard for my part of the salad? Is that a part of it? Or
I didn't bring any today. The actual lard's gonna be in the tortilla chip that's gonna accompany it.
That's smaller than what I was expecting, but that's okay. I can roll with it. So.
All right, so what I need for you to do, yes, with a serrated knife, you're gonna get 1 cherry tomato. We'll start you off like that. Have it right here, and we're gonna cut it up into 4, and I will take care of the grilling part. Okay, so with the pork's already been smoked. I'm gonna go ahead and warm it up, bring it up to temperature. I'm gonna do 2 things. I have some pineapple juice that I'm gonna add, which is right here, just to give it a little bit more flavor. And just a little blend of canola oil, just to give it a little
Now we're talking
crunch.
a little fat. A little fat, right?
fat.
Okay.
Fat is good, fat is flavor.
Now, which type of wood did you use to smoke the pork?
I used a mesquite with a hint of post oak.
Post oak, and I'm not
Post oak
familiar.
is Central Texas.
Okay. Very nice.
So we're just gonna let that chill, as the young kids say. Bring it all together. We're in no hurry. Don't try this at home unless you have the proper equipment or training. We've got a brulee torch, and all I'm gonna do is grill up the corn. If you have the barbecue pit on, you can do it on there. So if you have a gas burner at the house, you can do it on that.
I've never used the blowtorch to grill the corn. That's a new one for me.
Heat is heat.
Okay. Now we're making street tacos
We are.
for adults. How would you make this for students?
For students, well, the seasoning that I used had some brown sugar in it, so I'd probably eliminate that. And pretty much the same thing. All right, I trust my hands better than these tongs. Pretty much the same thing. I just eliminate the sugar content, just to make sure we meet all the nutritional guidelines. And with Aramark, we have dietitians on staff, so they would run the nutritional analysis on it to make sure that I met everything going on there.
Now, how would you scale it quickly enough to feed, let's say 200 kids coming through a lunchroom?
The serving would be probably about 3 to 4 ounces per kid, cooked. That's about 2 tacos right there. And do basic math. How many pounds of cooked meat do I need for a 3 to 4 ounce serving?
You lost me at basic math, so.
Well, you are a superintendent, so I know you're joking right now.
Moderately.
All right, this corn is good. We can relax on the corn.
And this knife is way better than anything I have at the house.
Well, I use a serrated knife more for the tomatoes because I get a better cut on it.
All right, that looks about semi-even, right?
Yeah, rough chop. It's for demo
It's
purposes.
definitely that. We're making it rustic, right?
Rustic.
As if you didn't have all the tools.
Correct.
When you were throwing this together.
Well, the good thing about this salad, it can accompany anything. It can be used as a dip. It can go with fish. It can go as a side with tacos. The only thing I didn't do to it was add jalapenos because
It's the best part.
it is, but we don't want to scare anybody off with some heat.
Show me the proper way to do something. I use cilantro
All right.
all the time.
I've already washed the cilantro. I'm just gonna roll it up into a little ball. We just need a little bit right here.
Okay.
And I'm gonna just get some thin slices. I love cilantro. I use it in everything. Sauces, marinades, things of that nature. This salad is all about color.
That is a lot easier than just plucking the leaves off. And you're just taking,
I'm taking the end off
okay.
so I can have a base. So I can cut off the kernels. And that's all we're doing.
Very nice.
So we'll speed up the process a little bit. this is a better option than getting a cheese dip or whatever else may be out there for as a side.
All right, so you just quartered up the...
I just quartered it up. It's just a rough chop.
Makes it a little easier to get out of there?
Yes, sir. Again, this is a rough cut. I'm gonna let you work on this. There you go.
So I'm just mixing it?
You're just mixing it, and then we're gonna put some juice of the lime.
Okay.
You wanna get that off?
Yep.
All right. Now we're gonna do a little lime.
Okay. Now what does the lime do?
It's gonna add some acidity, and it's gonna bring out some of the freshness of all of the different vegetables that we have in here. All right, there you go. You wanna go ahead and mix that up for me? Dip is done. Let me get this pork going one more time. Time to start making some tortillas.
Now, why are they called street tacos?
Street vendors in Mexico, this is just my interpretation. It's smaller in size, it's more convenient to grab. It's not your traditional big corn tortilla. They serve 2 small ones, one right over the other. And it's more of a grab and go. You don't have to worry about sitting somewhere in a restaurant, ordering a drink, ordering a complete plate. You don't need to get rice and beans. You're just gonna get a taco, get what you really want, get in, get out.
So this would be something perfect to add to a student serving line where
Yes.
it's quick, it's easy,
Yes.
good food.
Good food, and like anything else, the kids can customize it, because that's what kids are all about nowadays. So I like to add a little oil for the tortillas.
Now we're talking.
Okay. And all we want to do is soften them up. We don't want to brown them too much.
Okay.
I would recommend using a comal, but I don't have one on me. And also using tongs or a spatula, so you don't burn yourself. All right, so just like on TV, magically, we're done with one.
Yeah.
So let you try it.
All right.
And again, it's a side. It can be, you can do it over a toasted chip as a tostada, chalupa, just different parts of the regions of different people call it different things.
Very good.
It's a nice, healthy option.
Very good. Like the lime in it.
Good acidity.
Cilantro's great. Corn has a little crunch to it.
Okay, so lastly, we've got tortillas working for the tacos.
Oh, cheese.
We've got some Mexican cheese over here. Nice little crumble, a little texture. And I still got a little lime. This is gonna be perfect. Clean this up just a little bit.
And that's the final piece is the cheese?
The cheese and the lime.
We don't really want the cheese to melt, yes or no?
No, we don't want the cheese to melt.
Okay.
We're not looking for a melting cheese. All right, so we got some toasted tortillas. We've got the carnitas already here, ready to go, nice and warm. Just gonna tilt it around a little bit. And Aaron Sanchez, eat your heart out. We got a little cheese. There's your fat. And we got some limes. Totally up to you.
Awesome. You gotta try them? You wanna try one too?
I will try one of the little ones. I will try one. We'll both get a bite together.
There you go. Smile. And
cheers.
Cheers. Thank you. Very good.
So as they say, now I can get married?
Now you can get married?
All right.
Very good.
That was great. We got an opportunity to see you do a little cooking, Rick. We got a chance to hear from an important partner of the district in Aramark. And those are some really good insights from Alisha and Robert.
Absolutely. And the tacos were great as well.
Sure were.
And it gave us an opportunity to highlight some of the innovative things that we're going to be doing for our kids and our staff. So very excited about all aspects of that partnership.
Yes, sir. Let's move into our faculty interview. Mrs. Tasha Jones is an instructor of speech and debate programming at Tuloso-Midway High School, where she also serves as the UIL academic coordinator. Prior to being at Tuloso-Midway, she served 6 years in similar positions with both Harlingen South High School and Harlingen High School. Before entering the field of teaching, she worked with Stanford Campaigns, a political consulting firm out of Austin, Texas. Mrs. Jones has coached students who have won University Interscholastic League, Texas Forensic Association, National Individual Events TOC, and National Speech and Debate Association championship titles. Much of her work has been in underserved communities and working with students suffering from poverty. She regards the numerous first-generation college students and full scholarship attendees as her greatest achievements as a teacher, coach, and mentor.
Miss Jones is outstanding. Number one, our debate team is outstanding and very successful. But one thing I think you'll find is Miss Jones is very quick on her feet, very witty. So the first time we had interaction, she was giving me some zingers back and forth. And I was like, that's hilarious. So very excited to have her.
She is a dynamo and you will enjoy the conversation. Let's roll. We welcome Tasha Jones to the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, thanks for having me.
For our listeners, give us 45 seconds on your career road. How did you get to where you are now?
Sure. I competed in speech and debate in high school and got a degree in something else and was working in politics until my old school district recruited me back into the game. And once it's in your blood, it stays in your blood. So I joined back the coaching career and moved around a little bit until I called TM home.
So when did you know, like, this is what you're supposed to be doing? This is your career choice, your life's passion, so to speak?
I think that happened for me my first year of coaching. Once I saw students succeeding and the drive, it was just, it's addicting to keep winning and to keep competing. And so it's been hard to turn it off ever since.
Do you remember the moment, like I remember the moment of when I knew I wanted to be a basketball coach. Do you remember a specific moment?
Yeah, it was actually at the first tournament we ever went to. And our team had won an award and we were all crowding on the bus and everyone was chanting and cheering and I never looked back.
Awesome.
Tell us, let's step back for a moment and talk about your experience being on the debate team when you were in school. What led to that and what did you take away from it?
It was actually very surprising that I joined the debate team. I was awfully shy growing up. I didn't talk much and I didn't reach out much. And a couple of friends pulled me into the room one day and I found my voice there. I found my passion there. I found purpose there. So it was a crazy turn of events.
Do you remember your first debate tournament or event?
Yeah, I do. My coach actually lent me the suit that I wore. So she styled me up and I remember we won. It was a novice event and we won and my partner and I ran outside to go celebrate. And it was raining and we didn't care. We were freshmen and we were cheering and chanting. And then we turned around to go back inside and the doors were locked. So we had to stay out there for a while.
We hear, as we move forward with your experience, you had an interesting experience. You worked for the candidate's office, I suppose? Is that the best way of describing it?
I worked in politics for a little while, and politicians are a lot like celebrities. They have some weird requests. I did a little chauffeuring at some point. I dug up dirt on opponents, but I think the weirdest request was when one of my bosses asked me to flea bomb his house. So I put on the full suit and it was the first time I'd ever done that. I got a long weekend in return, but interesting job.
How did the results of the flea bomb turn out?
I think it worked.
So the dogs, cats, what?
It was dogs and he was out on the campaign trail. And so somebody had to take care of that house and that somebody was me.
Fair enough.
We hear something went terribly wrong during your first year with debate. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, there was a lot to learn when I started coaching in those early days. I remember one incident in particular. We were at the state meet, about to perform in the state final round, and the student came rushing up to me and let me know that he split his pants in the back. They were split straight up the back. We were doing a performance where he did a backflip, so ew, and I wasn't prepared for that. I was a novice coach. I wasn't toting around the sewing kit and the extra materials at that time. So luckily, a veteran coach stepped in and helped me out. But ever since then, I've been packing a heavy load to take care of any emergencies.
What's in the kit now?
Well, we have the sewing kit.
Right.
We have food, water, because everybody forgets those. An extra suit or pantyhose is usually helpful because we lose a lot of items along the way. Hairspray, bobby pins.
I take an extra set of pantyhose as well.
That's good to know. That's good to know. So how did y'all see? So another coach helped stitch it up?
Sure. We got him changed up, stitched up, and sent him into the final round.
Very nice.
The widespread impression seems to be that a team of this nature focuses only on debate, but we know your group is pretty well-rounded. Tell us about the different things you work on in class and on the team.
Sure. The speech and debate team is a lot like Law and Order meets Glee. It's a mix of students that are interested in debate, public speaking, but we also do dramatic monologues, humorous monologues. And so students find a passion in a lot of different areas and they find different ways to express that passion.
And how would our students utilize some of the skills that they learn from you all in competing later on in life? What types of advantages could that give them?
Well, the obvious is they're great public speakers. They interview really well. But the things that people don't usually consider is the money. There's a lot of money in speech and debate. We have some full ride scholarship recipients, but even more so, students right out of college on our team that have graduated from TM have gone on to consult for some really elite schools. We have 2 freshmen, college freshmen, making maybe more than me, I'm not sure, coaching for schools outside of Austin. A lot of our students also in college find side jobs judging weekend tournaments, anywhere from $350 to $500. So our college alum do really, really well.
That's excellent.
Fantastic. What is the takeaway from your team or the classes you teach that tend to surprise your students the most?
I think there are a couple of things that students leave my class and my team with. One of them is that it doesn't matter where you came from, what your house looks like, what your car looks like, what your family's like. When you step into a school and it's just you and an opponent, all that matters is your mental strength. And students are really surprised at how they can be the underdog and be successful. But more interestingly enough, a lot of students find that they love suits. We dress professionally for speech and debate tournaments. So suit shopping, suit wearing, suit buying is all a surprisingly interesting and exciting part of speech and debate that students end up leaving with and loving dressing professionally.
What part of the competition does a student need to be most equipped with? Like, what gives you an advantage as a student coming into the tournament?
Confidence.
Really?
Yeah, confidence. And if you're confident and you walk in there, it's amazing how the most knowledgeable person in the room can get deflated real quick by somebody who just walks in with an extra pep in their step and a smile on their face. And so I tell students, fake it until you make it. And so even if we aren't exactly sure we're ready or we're not feeling like we might win a round or a competition, we walk in there with our head held high and with pride and confidence, and it takes us a long way.
Now, how important is being quick on your feet? Does that matter in debate, or is it more about the prep work beforehand?
It's a little of both, but you do have to be very quick on your feet. And all rounds are timed. And if you go over time, you're disqualified. So
wow.
It really urges you to get your best thoughts out in the quickest format and most efficient. So we have a lot of quick students on our debate team.
No question. Tell us about the time when you were most proud of them.
There's been quite a few times. I think the time that comes to mind most recently was 2019, 2020 at the state meet. That was my 4th year coaching. So we had really built up students from their freshman year all the way to their senior year. And so we were at the state meet. We had alumni that came and they were judging for big bucks. And we were all in the award ceremony together. And we won 2 state championships. We had 2 state runner-ups that year. And we placed second behind a really large 6A school. So we were pretty proud of ourselves. And we got back on that bus and sang our team chant. And that's a moment that we all cherish.
Now that we're dealing with this pandemic, and hopefully it's ending, but how has that affected speech and debate, the tournaments, preparation, as we've been dealing with the pandemic?
Sure, that's had a big effect on our activity. One of the things I will say about the speech and debate community statewide and nationally is that it's a type group of coaches. So immediately in March, we saw the writing on the wall. Luckily, I was a part of an executive committee that joined in to rewrite speech and debate activities to become virtual. So we had to create platforms, we had to create screen time rules, we had to create equity and fairness guidelines to guide the state into a virtual world. And so we've been doing virtual tournaments this year. We've missed the travel, but our team has stayed strong and we've been trucking along this year.
Excellent. We hear Dr. Fernandez thinks he can take you on in a debate, and we'd love to see this. We're going to let him pick the topic since you've obviously got the upper hand.
What is the most outstanding 80s movie, in your opinion?
I'm going first.
You're going first. Okay. I got to have some kind of home field advantage here.
In debate, we like to set every debate with some criteria to determine which side would be the
No, well,
best
you can't
side.
just twist the rules on me. I intentionally left it a mile wide to help me.
Let me finish.
Okay.
So the criteria I would use for choosing the best 80s movie is if it was relevant at the time and if it's relevant now. So my movie would be Back to the Future. Back to the Future was relevant then. It was the highest grossing movie in 1985 when I was born. So that's pretty awesome. Michael J. Fox. I mean, come on. That's an 80s figure. And I actually think Back to the Future was quoted by Ronald Reagan in one of his State of the Union addresses. So pretty relevant. And then, of course, I mean, we had hoverboards, wearable technology, all the things we're seeing today. Michael was rocking in the 80s. So I'd say Back to the Future. What do you got?
Well, I prefer to live in reality, right? Back to the Future. We can't go through time. But what we can do is when COVID eventually ends, Vacation, the 1983 classic, Chevy Chase, Randy Quaid, and what typically my house looks like when electronics are involved. Christmas time, definitely. And that to me was the dream during the 80s. Everybody load up in the wagon with the wood paneling, which we did have a station wagon with wood paneling. So that's very nostalgic for me. And the whole family, it's about togetherness. So when I think of TM, I think of family. So we all load up into that station wagon with no air conditioning and probably all the windows rolled down, and we go to a destination. So, and how many sequels are in Back to the Future? I think there's only 2, but Vacation has 2 sequels plus a couple of remakes if I'm correct on that. So I'd have to go with Vacation.
It's a close call, but the lady's the winner.
Well, I definitely think TM's about family and looking to the future. So I think we both win.
I'll escape with that with some pride and a draw, I guess is what we could say.
Anyone you would like to send good bull?
Sure. TM. I mean, I'm happy to be here. Everybody's been really supportive since I've started here. It was a school that had a program back in the day. The program went mute a little bit. And ever since I've came on board, everyone from the admin building all the way down to the elementary have been so supportive. I get teachers that call me and say, I got some extra suits, or I have a bag of ties that I need to unload. And we've been willingly accepting those. And it's been a fun journey, and just really thankful for the support here.
Fantastic. How can our listeners, faculty, administrators keep up with the team or what you're doing?
Yeah, we have an Instagram, TMHS Forensics. We have a Twitter, TM_speech and debate. If you're at the high school, you hear about us on the announcements frequently. So that's a great way to keep up with us.
Do you think I could compete against your top debater?
I think my top debater would default to you because you're the boss man, but I've taught them well.
There's got to be some type of competition or friendly wager there with your debate team, because I love that atmosphere.
I like where this is going. But in the meantime, Tasha, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate your time.
Of course, it's been a pleasure.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed the interview with Tasha Jones. I did.
Absolutely. Outstanding. Outstanding as expected.
Yeah, she's very fast on her feet. It was nice to see you two go at it a little bit.
Yeah, I was overmatched. I'm not going to lie.
What she had to say about confidence was particularly enlightening for me, especially for someone who comes from maybe a less privileged background. It's important to just keep showing up. I read a quote the other day, just show up, show up, show up. And eventually the muse shows up too. The kind of fake it till you make it thing, I think there's definitely some real truth to that.
Absolutely. Having a daughter in this day and age with all of the avenues that influence happens, right? Your peers, social media, what have you. Having a voice and hearing Miss Jones with her story about how she grew her own voice, so to speak, it's powerful. I mean, immediately I start thinking about my own kids. Like, I want them in debate, because that's going to be a skill that they need regardless of what they do, what they choose to do, for their own benefit and the ability to communicate and think on their feet. Because that's really what life is evolving into every instant, a different piece of the puzzle that you got to adapt to.
Yeah. I think that is also a message that's particularly important for female students because as boys, we're taught from a very young age, step out there, go for it, take shots, like try different stuff,
Sure.
fail assertively, fail aggressively.
Right.
And sometimes girls are not given that same message. In my opinion, they should be. It
Absolutely.
needs to be for both. And I think having role models out there like Tasha Jones is that can only be good for everyone as our young women continue to be more empowered.
Absolutely. And as you know, my daughter's 10 years old, and all I'm thinking is she will be a part of Miss Jones' team. Technically, she will get a choice, but that is definitely going to be a priority.
Sure. Let's talk about the cycle of coaching as it relates to someone's progress through life. Obviously, Tasha was very impressed with her own speech and debate coach, and now she has become someone to look up to and has fashioned a life to aspire to as well.
Sure. And if you notice, she mentioned some very similar themes that we've discussed in the past. And as our leadership team has discussed here, is the coaching aspect. It's very intentional. It took some time. She admitted that she was very shy in high school, which a lot of kids are, right? And with that constant feedback, the constant opportunity, and the constant practice, I mean, she's awesome. And now our kids are reaping the benefits of that. So that coaching is more than just athletics. I think it's everything in life to be successful. Great coaching, great mentoring, and great role models.
Yeah. And I think that anything that's performance-based or really anything where success is not guaranteed, coaching is always helpful.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, maybe that's all of life. Having coaches is helpful pretty much anywhere you look.
Absolutely.
So we really appreciate Tasha Jones taking the time to speak with us. And thanks to you for talking with me as well.
But hey, it's been a great second episode. And so looking forward to more to come.
Absolutely.